Let's talk about what happened to 4-year-old Paulette Ibarra and how she went missing but was later found between her bed. Paulette Ibarra was born on July 20th, 2005 in Mexico City. She was born to her parents Mauricio and Lisette Fara, and she had an older sister named Lisette, named after their mom. Now, Paulette was born prematurely. She was born 25 weeks into her mom's pregnancy, when usually a pregnancy lasts about 40 weeks. When she was born, she only weighed 1 pound and 7 ounces. Now, Paulette's parents were told that she would most likely never be able to walk or talk or just function normally. And as she grew up, she did have some developmental delays and some physical disabilities, but she was doing a lot better than the doctors expected her to. The family lived in a large skyrise apartment in Mexico City, and they actually had 2 live-in nannies who were sisters, Erica and Martha, who lived with the family, and they would help take care of the 2 girls, but mainly Paulette. On March 22nd, 2009, nannies Erica and Martha woke up and started getting the girls ready for school. Now, Paulette's older sister, Lisette, was 7 years old, so she actually started school earlier than Paulette. So in the morning, the nannies would get Lisette ready for school, they would walk her to the bus stop, and then they would come back to the apartment and wake up Paulette. That morning, they did their normal routine, and when they went into Paulette's bedroom to wake her up, she wasn't there. Erica started looking all over the bedroom to see if maybe Paulette was hiding somewhere, but she wasn't. She goes to the kitchen area to look for Paulette, and that's when she hears a noise coming from the living room. She goes to see what the noise is, thinking that it's Paulette, but no, it's actually Mauricio, Paulette's father. Erica asks him, "Where's Paulette?" and he says, "I have no idea, I haven't seen her." Erica explains the situation to Mauricio, and he says, "Go check the main bedroom, maybe she's in bed with Lisette." So Erica goes over to Mauricio and Lisette's bedroom, but Paulette is not there. Erica wakes up Lisette and tells her, "Your daughter is missing," and that's when Lisette wakes up and says maybe she went to go play on the playground downstairs, like she has to be somewhere. Erica and her sister Martha started looking all over the apartment building. They looked in the elevators, they looked in the lobby, they looked everywhere. And while the nannies were doing this, Lisette was in her kitchen just smoking a cigarette and having a cup of coffee. She wasn't even looking for her daughter or freaking out. Meanwhile, Mauricio was kind of just opening random closets to see if Paulette was there, but he wasn't really looking that thoroughly. Now, the nannies thought this was weird. I mean, if your daughter is missing, you wouldn't just sit there and smoke a cigarette and have a cup of coffee. Paulette was nowhere to be found, so police get called to the scene and they start investigating the entire apartment. They're looking for signs of a forced entry, any broken glass. They're just trying to figure out what happened. They also checked to see if anything was stolen or if anything was missing, maybe it was a robbery gone wrong, but no, everything was there besides Paulette. They also checked the apartment building surveillance footage, but there was no footage of Paulette ever leaving. So that meant that she was somewhere inside this building. Weeks would go by without any answers, and on March 31st, 2009, forensic experts were inside Paulette's bedroom looking for clues when they pulled back the blanket and found Paulette. She was found between her mattress and the end of the bed. So forensic experts pulled back the blanket, and that's when they find Paulette's body wedged between the mattress and the edge of the bed. The blanket Paulette was wrapped in was covered in blood that one of the experts immediately shouted they beat her, because that's what their first opinion was, seeing the blanket and seeing how Paulette was found. However, later it was discovered that it was decomposition fluid and not blood. After discovering her body, police believed that somehow Paulette had climbed down to the edge of her bed and had accidentally gotten stuck between the mattress and the edge. So they believed that this was most likely an accident. An autopsy was conducted, and this determined that her cause of death was asphyxiation and that this had happened because she had been wrapped under her blankets. Autopsy also said that Paulette's last meal was 5 hours before her death, and that she had died 5 to 9 days before her death. She had no signs of physical abuse or SA, and there were also no drugs in her system. Now, when this went public, a lot of people were confused as to how no one realized that Paulette was there for 9 days. The day Paulette went missing on March 22nd, police arrived to the scene and they looked inside her bedroom, but no one found her body. During her disappearance, news reporters had gone to her bedroom, they had sat on the bed with Lisette, done interviews, and yet no one realized that Paulette's body was there. A lot of people just find it odd how Lisette and all these people were sitting on the bed and no one smelled any type of decay. No one realized realize that there was a body there, nothing. One of Lisette's friends, Amanda, even slept in Paulette's bed after her disappearance and yet didn't realize that Paulette's body was there. The nannies had even changed the sheets a couple of times, so a lot of people are just confused as to how this happened. Now, police actually had the nannies do a reconstruction of how they made the bed, and after doing the reconstruction, they determined that it is possible that the nannies did not see the body because of how it was wedged between the bed. So it is possible that while they were changing the sheets, they did not see Paulette's body. But I mean, at one point, tracker dogs had also been brought into the bedroom and they never picked up any scent. So a lot of people are confused and they don't feel like this was an accident. A lot of people started to speculate that either Paulette's parents, Mauricio and Lisette, or the nannies were involved. People were specifically focusing on Lisette because she had made some odd comments to the press, such as, oh, maybe my daughter got abducted by aliens, or maybe she got abducted by Harry Potter. She also said, if I lose Paulette, I still have another daughter. People were also thinking that maybe the nannies had done it, maybe it was some type of accident. I mean, there were just so many theories and speculation about this case. Paulette's funeral was on April 6th, and after that, her case kind of went cold. To this day, no one has ever been arrested for Paulette's death. On May 3rd, 2017, Paulette's body was actually exhumed and cremated. So now if police want to go back to see if there's any type of evidence on her body, they can't. It's just really sad. I mean, Paulette was only 4 years old. It's sad that there isn't any type of justice, but hopefully the truth will come out. Let me know what you guys think about this down below.
This is the woman people are calling the real-life Gone Girl. She faked her own horrific abduction and wasted 5 years of police time. You're not going to want to miss this one. It is absolutely insane. This all begins November 2nd of 2016. Keith Papini returned home from work at around 5 p.m. He was expecting to come home to his 34-year-old wife, Sherry Papini, and his 2 kids, but they weren't home. Keith called the daycare where his kids were staying and asked when Sherry came to pick up the kids. The daycare then told him that she never came, so the kids were okay. He immediately finds this very strange, calls the police, and reports her missing. This was taken very seriously by the police. She seemed to have vanished out of thin air. It wasn't long before the news was reporting on it, and her missing posters were all over California. Because there were no leads, fingers pointed at Keith, the husband. Everyone thought it was Keith. He even took a polygraph test and passed it, but people still thought it was him. That's until 22 days later, when Sherry returned. 150 miles away from where she was last seen, a driver finds her walking on the side of the road in chains. This driver called the police and she was brought in. She was covered in bruises. She had lost weight, and her back had been branded. Understandably, police were shocked. When asked what happened, she claimed that 2 Hispanic women abducted her. She claimed that they were going to sell her to a man, and that's why she was branded. Police were taking this very seriously. Sherry explained in detail the abuse that she went through and the room she was in. She also described the women enough for them to create a sketch of people who did not exist, because it was all a lie. Police found it very strange that these abductors just let her go, but this isn't to say that they didn't believe her. They definitely did, and they took it very seriously. They were determined to find out who did this to this poor mother of 2. The government helped pay for therapy for her PTSD and anxiety after this event. During this time, police were testing her clothes, and they finally found DNA. This DNA belonged to a man, not a woman, and she apparently encountered no men during this kidnapping. They put it through the police database and nothing came up. That's until 2020 when they decided to put it through a genealogy database, hoping that someone related to the person with this DNA went on like Ancestry or anything like that. With this, they were able to find the exact person with that DNA. And this person was Sherry's ex-boyfriend. The story gets pretty insane from here. So the police matched the DNA to a man named James, one of Sherry's ex-boyfriends. Police show up to his house with a load of questions. And finally, he started talking. James confessed that in 2016, Sherry got in contact with him, claiming that her husband was extremely abusive. He told her he was willing to help her, and she asked him to rent out a car and pick her up. He wanted to help her disappear. During this time, she stayed at his house and slept in his bed while he slept on the couch. He said that it wasn't long before she started acting erratically. She would stay in his room in the dark. She wouldn't eat. She was losing a ton of weight. She would sit and watch news reports about her own case. She then started hitting herself with objects to create a bunch of bruising all over her body. And she cut her hair off. Very gone girl. Nearing the end of her stay, she asked him to brand her. And he was like, I don't want to do, that's going to hurt you, no. But she begged him to go and buy the supplies. There's evidence of all this, by the way. She had a secret Pinterest board where she was researching what branding tools to use. And the Pinterest board was called Gift Ideas, so no one would look there, but they eventually found it. So he helped her brand herself. And then apparently one day, it was Thanksgiving, she decided that she missed her kids and she wanted to go home, so she asked him to just drop her off in a remote area. Now, this story had a lot of evidence to back it up, and he passed a polygraph test. Police also realized that the room that she was staying in his house was the room she was describing, just minus the boarded up windows and stuff like that. That's why she was able to describe the room so vividly, because she was in a room. It just didn't have boarded up windows and she wasn't chained to the closet. It's 2020 at this point, and they found her in 2016. That is so many years of wasted police time. And so they brought her in and sat her back down.
The reason why you can describe the room is because you stayed in the room in the dark for hours, for days on end. The reason why you lost so much weight is because you stopped eating. The reason why you got a rash on your arm is because you cleaned his house. The reason why the brand is because he went to the store, bought the branding tools, and branded you. The reason why your nose was...
Safe to say they had her cornered. I feel so bad for her husband, Keith. Like, oh my God. He was completely tricked. And he really stood by her side that whole time. So she eventually caved, and she admitted that she lied. Unfortunately, we never got the why. Like, why did she do this? Attention? She entered a plea deal and only got 18 months.